10 fake depression foods that help people survive. It's 1931. A cold wind circles the wooden house, but inside it's warm. Mother pours coffee into father's cup. The children sit at the table, upright and silent, as if awaiting a verdict. Father gets a spoonful of whipped cream in his coffee. The youngest gets a small piece of candy, but if you look closely, you'll see it. It's not real coffee, not real cream, not real candy. And yet, this was the moment everyone looked forward to. Together, at the table, just pretending for a little while. Today, I'll tell you about 10 fake foods, substitute recipes that helped families survive during the Great Depression. Meals made without coffee, without meat, without eggs, but made with love, resourcefulness, and a whole lot of creativity. 1. Fake coffee. Mornings began with coffee, not because it was available, but because the ritual mattered. Real coffee beans? Far too expensive, so people roasted barley or corn until the smell turned dark and toasty. Then they ground it, poured hot water over it, and called it coffee. The taste? A little bitter. The aroma? Almost familiar. It wasn't the real thing, but it was hot, it was dark, and it filled the hands. And somehow that was enough. 2. Eggless cake. On Sundays or birthdays, or just to lift someone's spirit, Mother would bake a cake, but there were no eggs, no milk, no butter, just flour, water, oil, and maybe some raisins soaked in hot cinnamon water. Still, the batter puffed up in the oven. The smell of spice filled the house, and the children peeked through the oven door with wide eyes. The cake was dense, sweet, maybe a little chewy, but it was a cake born from nothing. 3. Mock sausage patties. At breakfast, something sizzled in the pan. It smelled like sausage. It crackled like sausage. But it wasn't meat. Stale bread, shredded potato, onion, and a pinch of flour, mixed with salt and pepper, formed into patties and fried in lard. Mother knew just how long to brown them. The children leaned forward, waiting, sniffing. And when they ate, no one asked what was missing. 4. Vinegar candy. Candy was rare. Sugar was precious, sometimes rationed, sometimes bartered. But every once in a while, Mother would make vinegar candy. A little sugar, a little vinegar, a little water, boiled until it thickened and bubbled, then poured onto a buttered plate, cooled and cracked into shiny shards. The kids sucked on it slowly, each piece a moment of joy in a time when joy didn't come easy. 5. Mock apple pie. Yes, apple pie without apples. People crushed soda crackers and soaked them in water with vinegar, sugar, and cinnamon. Baked inside a pie crust, it looked like apple filling. It smelled like apple filling. And believe it or not, it fooled a lot of people. Some children didn't realize until years later that they'd never actually eaten real apple pie. 6. Mock chicken legs. Meat was a luxury, especially chicken, but that didn't stop people from recreating it. Ground beef or beans were shaped around a bone, sometimes a stick or even a spoon handle, then rolled in crumbs and fried. It came out golden and crispy with just enough crunch. And if you closed your eyes, you could pretend it was Sunday dinner. 7. Fake whipped cream. When the moment called for celebration, a birthday, a guest, a good harvest, people made whipped cream. Without cream, powdered milk, water, sugar, and a touch of vanilla, whipped into a soft, sweet foam. It wasn't dairy, but it was light. It was white, and it looked beautiful on top of canned peaches. 8. Mock ham. That was out of reach, so people made their own version, using beans, cornmeal, and sometimes beet juice for color. Pressed into a mold, left to chill, then sliced and fried. It had the shape, it had the color, and most importantly, it filled the plate. 9. Depression mayonnaise. When there were no eggs, but you needed mayo for a sandwich or salad, you got creative. Flour, mustard powder, vinegar, water, and a little oil, whisked into a creamy sauce. Was it real mayonnaise? Not quite, but it held the salad together, and that's all that mattered. 10. Water bread or emergency loaf. Special occasions called for special bread, but with no yeast, no milk, and no butter, what could you bake? Simple flour, water, baking soda, and maybe a touch of syrup or lard. It didn't rise much, it was dense, but it was warm, and it filled the house with the smell of comfort. When it came out of the oven, you wrapped it in a cloth, placed it in the center of the table, and called it a blessing. Bonus 1. Water pie, a dessert made of almost nothing. It didn't look like much, just a pie crust, filled with water, sugar, flour, and a bit of butter, if you had it. No eggs, no milk, no fruit. It was called water pie, because that's exactly what it was. And yet, when it came out of the oven, it had turned into a soft, sweet custard, shiny on top, wobbly in the middle, barely holding its shape. It wasn't pretty, but when you'd eaten potatoes all week, this strange little pie tasted like celebration. Bonus 2. Peanut butter loaf. The meatloaf with no meat. Sometimes you wanted a hearty meal, something warm, solid, something to slice. So people made meatloaf. Without any meat, they used peanut butter, mixed it with stale breadcrumbs, chopped onions, a splash of milk or water, and a pinch of salt. Shaped it, baked it, and sliced it like roast. The smell, nutty, toasty, comforting in its own strange way. It didn't fool anyone, but it felt like dinner. And during the Depression, that was enough. There's something remarkable about the kitchens of the past, not because of what they had, but because of what they didn't have, and how somehow they still made something out of nothing. No meat, they pretended. No sugar, they found a way. No luxury, but plenty of love, and a whole lot of creativity. I still remember my own mother. She absolutely hated the fake coffee from those days. She swore she'd never drink it again. To her, it wasn't nostalgia. It was a reminder of how hard life really was. Because food doesn't just carry flavor, it carries memory. It tells stories of struggle, resilience, and survival. Do you have a memory like that? Something your grandma used to make from scraps? Or a dish your family swore they'd never eat again? I'd love to hear your story in the comments. And if you want more forgotten recipes and food memories from the past, go ahead and subscribe, because these stories deserve to be remembered and passed on.